The word no had left his lips 17 times in the past 2 hours, and Dante Chun was getting bored. He sat in the leather booth of Noir, the most exclusive bar in Manhattan, where deals worth billions were made over whiskey that cost more than most people's mortgages, and watched another suit approach his table with another proposal he didn't want. Marriage. Always marriage. His father's associates seemed to think that if they threw enough daughters at him, eventually one would stick, like he was some prize to be won through persistence rather than a man who'd made it very clear he wasn't interested in being sold like cattle. Dante Chun, 30 years old, looked like Sin dressed in a three-piece Armani suit, all sharp angles and dangerous edges, his Korean heritage evident in his sharp cheekbones and dark, intelligent eyes, a thin scar running through his left eyebrow from a fight that had taught him never to trust family, black hair styled back perfectly, and tattoos hidden beneath expensive fabric that told stories of violence most people couldn't imagine. He'd inherited the Chun crime family at 25 when his uncle tried to kill him and failed, and in 5 years he'd turned a struggling operation into an empire that stretched from New York to California, built on fear and respect in equal measure. But tonight, in this bar where Manhattan's elite came to play at being dangerous, Dante was just tired. Tired of the games. Tired of the proposals. Tired of people treating him like a chess piece instead of a person. Mr. Chun, the suit began, some associate of his father's named Richard or Robert or something equally forgettable. I represent the Park family, and they're very interested in a union between. No, Dante said, not even looking up from his whiskey. The word was final, absolute, the same tone he used right before someone disappeared. But you haven't heard the offer, the man protested, and Dante could hear the desperation, could smell the commission this guy was hoping to make. Don't need to, Dante replied, finally meeting the man's eyes, and watched him flinch at what he saw there. I'm not interested in marriage alliances. I'm not interested in combining families. I'm not interested in whatever 18-year-old your clients are trying to trade like property. The answer is no. It will always be no. Now leave. The man left, practically tripping over himself in his hurry to get away from the ice in Dante's voice. And Dante's business partner Marcus slid into the booth across from him with a sympathetic expression. Marcus had been with him since the beginning, the only person Dante actually trusted, which meant Marcus got to witness all 17 rejections and counting. You know your father's going to hear about this, Marcus said, sipping his own drink. 17 proposals dismissed in one night. He's going to be furious. Good, Dante said. Maybe he'll finally get the message that I'm not marrying anyone he picks. You have to marry someone eventually, Marcus pointed out. The family expects an heir, traditions demand. The family can go to hell. Dante interrupted, voice cold enough to freeze. And tradition can die with them. I didn't fight my way to the top of this empire to be controlled by dead men's rules. Marcus opened his mouth to respond, but movement near the bar caught Dante's attention, pulled his focus away from the conversation like a hook in his chest. She was just a bartender, shouldn't have been anything special, just another employee in the black and white uniform Noir required. But something about the way she moved made Dante's entire world narrow down to just her. She was black, her skin a rich, deep brown that caught the low amber lighting of the bar like it was made to glow, natural hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail that showed off incredible bone structure, and when she laughed at something the customer said, throwing her head back with genuine amusement, Dante forgot how to breathe. She wasn't performing, wasn't trying to be noticed, wasn't doing anything, except her job with grace and efficiency and real warmth. And in a world where everyone wore masks, her authenticity hit him like a physical blow. Dante, Marcus said, but his voice sounded far away, muffled by the sudden rushing in Dante's ears. Who is that? Dante asked, not taking his eyes off her as she mixed drinks with practiced ease, smiled at customers, moved through her shift like she was dancing. Who's who? Marcus followed his gaze, squinted. The bartender? I don't know. New hire, maybe? What? But Dante wasn't listening anymore. He was watching her reject some drunk businessman who'd leaned too far over the bar, watching her do it with a smile that had steel underneath, watching her command her space without aggression, just confidence, and something in his chest that had been frozen for 5 years cracked open. Dante, you're staring, Marcus said carefully. That's not like you. Dante stood without responding, straightened his jacket, and walked toward the bar with the kind of purpose that made the crowd part instinctively. And he had no idea what he was going to say, just knew he needed to talk to her, needed to know her name, needed to understand why this stranger had just made him feel more alive than he had in years. But what came out of his mouth when he reached the bar surprised even him. Her name tag said Simone, and up close she was even more devastating, all warm intelligence and careful walls. And when she turned to take his order, her smile was professional and distant in a way that made Dante want to earn a real one. What can I get you? Simone asked, and her voice was smooth and controlled, the kind of voice that said she'd dealt with powerful men before and wasn't impressed. Whiskey, Dante said, even though he had a full glass back at his booth. Neat. Whatever you think is best. Simone's eyebrow rose slightly, like she was surprised he'd left the choice to her. But she turned to the top shelf without comment, and Dante watched her work with the same efficiency he'd noticed from across the room, every movement precise and practiced. She slid the glass across the bar, and their fingers brushed during the exchange, and the electricity that shot up Dante's arm was so unexpected he almost jerked back. But he caught it, controlled it, kept his expression neutral even though his heart was racing. Starting a tab? Simone asked, already moving on to the next customer. No, Dante said, placing a $100 bill on the bar for a $30 drink. Keep the change. Simone looked at the bill, then at him, and her expression shifted from professional to cautious. That's a lot for one drink. It's a thank you, Dante said, for choosing well. You have good taste. Or you're trying to buy something that's not for sale, Simone replied, and there was an edge to her voice now, a warning. Dante smiled, and he saw her eyes flicker to the scar through his eyebrow, saw her register exactly what kind of man she was talking to. I'm not trying to buy anything, Dante said honestly, just showing appreciation. Before Simone could respond, another suit appeared at Dante's elbow, this one representing the Kim family, and Dante felt his jaw tighten, because couldn't these people take a hint? Mr. Chun, the new suit began. I apologize for the interruption, but the Kim family has asked me to present a proposal for, no, Dante said, not taking his eyes off Simone, who was watching this interaction with barely concealed curiosity. Mr. Chun, please, if you'd just consider, he said no. Simone interjected, and both Dante and the suit turned to stare at her in surprise. Maybe try listening. The suit's face turned red. This is a private conversation. Then have it somewhere private, Simone suggested, already turning to help another customer, dismissing the suit like he was nothing. Dante felt something warm bloom in his chest, something that felt dangerously like affection, and when the suit sputtered and left, Dante was smiling for the first time all night. You didn't have to do that, Dante said. I know, Simone replied, not looking at him. But watching men harass other people isn't part of my job description, even when the person being harassed deserves it, Dante asked. Nobody deserves to be harassed, Simone said firmly, no matter who they are. And there it was, the thing that made her different, the thing that had caught his attention across the room. Principles. Real ones. Not the flexible kind that bent depending on who was asking. Simone, Dante said, reading her name tag, even though he'd already memorized it. That's a beautiful name. And you're trying to flirt with me while I'm working, Simone observed. Which means I can't leave, which means you're trapping me in a conversation. Is that right? Dante blinked, because nobody talked to him like that. Nobody called him out so directly, and he found he liked it more than he should. You're right, he admitted. I apologize. That was inappropriate. Simone's expression shifted, surprise flickering across her face before she controlled it. Most men don't apologize. I'm not most men, Dante said. No. Simone agreed, looking at him properly for the first time, really seeing him. You're definitely not. They stared at each other across the bar, and Dante felt the moment stretch and deepen, felt possibility opening up like a door. And then Marcus appeared again, looking stressed. Dante, the Williams family representatives are here with another proposal, and they're being insistent. Dante didn't turn around. Tell them the same thing I've told everyone else tonight. No. They brought their daughter, Marcus said quietly. She's waiting in the back room. They want you to at least meet her before you refuse. No. Dante repeated, voice cold. But Dante, I said no. Dante cut him off, and his voice carried across the bar, making nearby conversations stop. I've said no 17 times tonight, and I'll say it 100 more if I have to. I'm not interested in marriage proposals. I'm not interested in family alliances. I'm not interested in meeting anyone's daughter. He paused, felt something reckless and true rising in his chest. Because I'm already interested in someone else. The bar had gone quiet, people sensing drama, and Marcus's eyes went wide. Dante, what are you? Her, Dante said, and pointed directly at Simone, who'd frozen in place with a glass in her hand. She's mine. The words hung in the air like a declaration of war, and Simone's expression shifted from surprise to furious so fast it should have been funny, except Dante suddenly realized he might have made a terrible mistake. Excuse me, Simone said, voice dangerously quiet. What? But the damage was done, the claim was made, and everyone in the bar had heard it, which meant by morning all of Manhattan would know that Dante Chun had publicly declared a bartender as his, had chosen her over every family alliance offered to him. And Dante, watching Simone's eyes flash with anger, realized he'd either just found something extraordinary or destroyed it before it could begin. Possibly both. Simone set the glass down with enough force to crack it, her hands shaking with rage, and Dante realized he was about to experience something he hadn't felt in years. Consequences. Your office, Simone said to her manager, who'd appeared at the commotion. Now? And you, she pointed at Dante, are coming with me because we're going to have a conversation about consent and basic human decency. Then she walked away toward the back without waiting to see if he'd follow. And Dante found himself actually obeying, Marcus staring after him with an expression that said, "You're on your own for this one." The office was small and cramped, filled with liquor inventory and paperwork, and the moment the door closed, Simone rounded on him with fire in her eyes. "What the hell was that?" she demanded. "You don't know me. You don't own me. You certainly don't get to tell a room full of people that I'm yours like I'm property you just claimed. Who do you think you are?" "I'm sorry," Dante said immediately, because she was right, because he'd let possessiveness override basic respect. "You're right. That was completely out of line." "Damn right it was," Simone said, pacing in the small space. "I have a life. I have a job. I have my own plans that don't include being some rich guy's trophy or statement piece or whatever you think I am." "I don't think you're any of those things," Dante said quietly. "Then what do you think?" Simone challenged. "Because from where I'm standing, you just used me to make a point to those business people, and now I'm going to be the gossip story for every wealthy person in Manhattan, and I didn't ask for any of this." Dante looked at her, really looked at her, and made a choice he'd probably regret. "I think you're the first person in 5 years who's looked at me like a human being instead of a weapon or a wallet. I think when you laughed earlier, something in me that's been dead woke up. I think I panicked because I've dismissed 17 marriage proposals tonight from women I don't know and don't want, and then I saw you and wanted with a desperation that terrified me. So I claimed you in the most primitive, stupid way possible because I'm an idiot who forgot how to talk to real people." Simone stopped pacing, stared at him. "That's either the most honest thing I've ever heard or the best line." "It's the truth," Dante said. "And I'm sorry. You deserved better than being used as a shield against my family's expectations. If you want me to go out there and tell everyone I lied, that I made it up, I will. I'll take whatever consequences come from that." "You do that?" Simone asked. "Damage your reputation over a bartender you just met." "You're not a bartender," Dante said. "You're Simone." "And yes, I would. Because you were right. What I did was wrong." Simone studied him for a long moment, and Dante felt like he was being weighed and measured by someone who actually mattered, and the feeling was terrifying and exhilarating at once. Who are you? She finally asked. Really? Not the suit and the money and the proposals. Who are you? So Dante told her, standing in that cramped office that smelled like whiskey and paper, about inheriting a criminal empire he'd never wanted, about trying to be better than the violence that had raised him, about feeling like he was drowning in expectations and couldn't find a way to breathe. And Simone listened without interrupting, without judging, just listening. And when he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. My brother was killed by people like you, Simone said finally, and Dante felt his chest constrict. Gang violence in California 5 years ago. Wrong place, wrong time. He was 23. I was 21. I swore I'd never have anything to do with that world again. I understand, Dante said, and started to turn toward the door, started to walk away like he should have from the beginning. I didn't say I wanted you to leave, Simone said, and Dante froze. I said my brother was killed by people like you. But you're trying not to be like them, aren't you? That's what all those no's were about. Refusing to play their games. Yes, Dante admitted. Doesn't mean I'm succeeding. Tonight proved I'm still capable of treating people like objects when I'm desperate. You apologized, Simone said. Twice. And offered to fix it. That's more than most powerful men do. She paused. I have conditions. Anything, Dante said. 1. You never, ever claim me in public again without my explicit permission. I'm not property. 2. You're honest with me, always, about your world and what being around you might mean. 3. I get to say no at any point and you respect that immediately. Deal. Dante looked at this woman who'd just set boundaries with a crime lord like she was negotiating a business contract, who demanded respect instead of accepting his apology and moving on, who was giving him a chance despite having every reason not to. Deal, he said. And in return? In return, Simone said, and a small smile played at her lips. You take me to dinner tomorrow. Somewhere normal. No expensive restaurants. No showing off. Just you and me actually talking like people. If you can manage that without claiming me or treating me like a trophy, maybe we'll try a second date. Tomorrow. Dante agreed, feeling something like hope. Anywhere you want. And Dante, Simone added, hand on the door handle. Yes. Those marriage proposals? Keep saying no. Because if we're doing this, we're doing it right. No distractions, no family drama interfering, just us figuring out if this is real or if it was just one moment in a bar. Then she opened the door and walked back to her shift, and Dante stood there trying to remember how to breathe, because somehow this woman who should have run from him was giving him a chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. But when he returned to his booth, Marcus was waiting with his phone out, showing Dante a message from his father. What the hell did you do? The claiming might have solved one problem, but it had created a dozen more. And Dante's father was about to make sure he knew it. Dinner the next night was at a tiny Vietnamese restaurant in Queens that Simone picked, the kind of place where Dante's suit looked ridiculous and the food was incredible and nobody cared who he was. And for 3 hours he forgot about the empire and the threats and just talked to a woman who made him laugh. Simone told him about growing up in California with dreams of being a writer, about moving to New York 5 years ago to escape grief and finding it waiting for her here too, about working 3 jobs while trying to finish her degree, about refusing to give up even when the city tried to grind her down. You're extraordinary, Dante said when she finished, and he meant it in a way he'd never meant anything. I'm tired, Simone corrected, but she was smiling. Extraordinary and tired aren't mutually exclusive, Dante pointed out. Can I walk you home? So he did, and at her door in Brooklyn, Simone looked at him with those intelligent eyes and said, Your world is going to come for this, isn't it? For us. Probably, Dante admitted, because he'd promised honesty. My father's already furious. The families whose proposals I rejected are insulted. And the fact that I chose you, that I claimed you publicly, it's seen as weakness. Is it? Simone asked. Choosing me. It's the strongest thing I've ever done, Dante said. Because you scare me more than any enemy I've ever faced. You make me want things I thought I'd buried. You make me hope. Simone kissed him then, soft and sweet and terrifying, and when she pulled back, her eyes were serious. I'm scared too, she admitted. But I want to try. Just be ready, okay? Because if your world comes for me, I'm going to fight back. I wouldn't expect anything less, Dante said. They had 2 perfect weeks, stolen moments between her shifts and his business, dinners and long walks and conversations that stretched until dawn, and Dante felt himself falling in a way that should have terrified him, but instead felt like coming home. But on the 15th day, Simone's roommate called Dante in a panic. Someone came to the apartment, she said, voice shaking. Big guys, expensive suits, said they had a message for Simone from your father. They said she needs to disappear or there will be consequences. Dante's blood turned to ice. Where is she? At work. But Dante, they knew everything. Where she works, where she goes to school, her mother's address in California. They're serious. Dante hung up and drove to Noir faster than he should have. Burst through the door to find Simone behind the bar looking pale, phone in her shaking hand. They called me, she said when she saw him. Your father's people. They said I'm a distraction you can't afford. That if I don't leave New York by tomorrow, accidents happen. You're not going anywhere, Dante said, moving behind the bar to pull her close. I'll handle my father. I'll make this right. How? Simone asked, and there were tears in her eyes. Dante, he threatened my mother. My family. I can't. I won't put them at risk because I fell for you. Then I'll leave, Dante said desperately. I'll walk away from the family, from the empire, from all of it. We'll go somewhere he can't reach us. And then what? Simone asked. You live in hiding? Give up everything you've built? Resent me eventually for making you choose? I would never. You would, Simone interrupted gently. Maybe not now, maybe not in a year, but someday you'd wonder what you could have been if you hadn't run. And I won't be the reason you lose yourself. So what are you saying? Dante asked, even though he knew, even though he could see it in her eyes. I'm saying this was beautiful, Simone whispered. But it's over. Your world won't let it be anything else. She kissed him one last time, tasting like salt and regret, and then she walked away, left him standing in the bar where he'd claimed her, and Dante felt something inside him break that he didn't think would ever heal. He went to his father's office with murder in his eyes, ready to burn the whole empire down, but his father was waiting with cold eyes and colder words. She's gone by now, his father said. Smart girl. Took the money we offered and left the city. You can stop playing hero. You're lying, Dante said. Am I? His father showed him a bank transfer, Simone's name on it, $50,000, and Dante felt the ground shift beneath him. Everyone has a price, son. Even your bartender. Now, the Williams family is still willing to overlook your embarrassment if you agree to meet their daughter properly. Dante stared at the transfer, at proof that Simone had taken money to leave, and felt everything he'd hoped for crumble to dust. But something didn't fit, something felt wrong, because Simone had conditions and boundaries and principles that didn't bend. When did she take this? Dante asked. This morning, his father said. After we made it clear the alternative was her mother's medical care disappearing. She made the smart choice. And there it was, the truth underneath the lie, because his father wasn't above blackmail dressed as generosity. Simone hadn't taken money to leave. She'd taken it to save her mother, and the difference mattered. You threatened her family, Dante said quietly. I protected you from a distraction, his father corrected. Now you'll marry the Williams girl and stop this foolishness. Dante looked at his father, at the man who'd taught him that power mattered more than people, and made a choice that would change everything. No, he said, and you're done giving me orders. Then he walked out, got in his car, and drove to Brooklyn to find the woman who'd walked away to save him. Simone's apartment was dark when Dante arrived, but her roommate let him in with red eyes and a tight expression. She left 2 hours ago, her roommate said. Took a bus to California. Said she needed to be with her mom. That staying here was too dangerous. Did she leave anything? Dante asked desperately. A note? An address? Just this, her roommate said, handing him an envelope with his name on it. Inside was the simplest, most devastating letter Dante had ever read. I took their money because my mother needs surgery she can't afford, and they promised to pay for it if I left. I'm sorry I couldn't be braver. I'm sorry I couldn't fight your world. I'm sorry I fell for you knowing it couldn't last. Thank you for 2 weeks of feeling like myself. Be the man you want to be, not the one they expect. Dante stood there holding the letter, and something crystallized in his chest, something clear and absolute. He'd spent 5 years running an empire he'd never wanted, making decisions based on what was expected rather than what was right, and it had brought him nothing but emptiness. Until Simone smiled, and everything changed. He pulled out his phone and made 3 calls. First to his lawyer, second to his accountant, third to Marcus. By morning, the news was everywhere. Dante Chun was stepping back from active management of the family business, installing trusted lieutenants to handle day-to-day operations while he transitioned everything to legitimate enterprises. No more gray areas. No more violence. No more being the weapon his father had sharpened. His father called him a fool and a traitor. The families whose proposals he'd rejected celebrated his perceived weakness. Marcus asked him if he was sure, really sure, about burning bridges this way. I've never been more sure of anything, Dante said. Now help me find her. It took 3 days of searching, calling in favors, using every resource he had, before Marcus found her in a small town in Northern California, working at her mother's favorite cafe while her mother recovered from surgery. Dante flew out immediately, didn't tell her he was coming, just showed up at the cafe at 2 in the afternoon when the lunch rush had died down, and when Simone turned around and saw him, she dropped the coffee pot she was holding. Dante, she breathed, like she couldn't believe he was real. What are you doing here? Keeping my promise, Dante said. The one about being honest. So here's the truth. I don't care about the empire. I don't care about my father's approval. I don't care about family alliances or marriage proposals or any of it. I care about you. Just you. Dante, you can't just... I restructured everything, Dante interrupted. The business is legitimate now, or will be within 6 months. I'm out of the violence, out of the games. I'm just a man trying to build something better. And I'm here because I want to build it with you. You gave up your empire, Simone said slowly. For me, I gave up a prison, Dante corrected. You gave me the key to walk out. Now I'm asking, begging really, for you to give me a chance to prove that what we had was real. Simone's eyes filled with tears. Your father has no power over me anymore, Dante said. I made my choice. And I choose you, Simone. Every time, I choose you. I took their money, Simone admitted, for my mom's surgery. I know what that makes me. It makes you someone who loves her family, Dante said gently. Someone who made an impossible choice under threat. It doesn't make you anything except strong. Simone looked at him for a long moment, tears streaming down her face, and Dante held his breath waiting for her verdict. I have conditions, she finally said, and Dante felt hope explode in his chest. Always, Dante agreed. 1. We do this slow. No more public claims, no rushing, just dating like normal people. 2. You really transition the business to legitimate operations, no backsliding. 3. You meet my mother, and if she doesn't like you, we're done. Dante laughed, feeling lighter then. He had in days. Deal. Can I add one condition? What? That when you're ready, when we've done this slow and right and proven it's real, you let me claim you again. Properly this time. With your permission. Simone smiled, that real genuine smile that had started everything. Ask me in a year. I'll ask you in a year, Dante promised. And he did, exactly 1 year later, standing in the same cafe in Northern California, getting down on one knee in front of Simone's mother and the entire town, and asking Simone not if she'd be his, but if he could be hers. Yes, Simone said, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, you can be mine. Completely, totally, officially mine. And Dante slid a ring on her finger and knew that he'd dismissed every proposal in the world to find the only one that mattered. The wedding was small, held in a garden in Connecticut with close friends and family, and when Dante stood at the altar waiting for Simone, he thought about the night in the bar when he'd claimed her without permission, about how far they'd both come from that moment of possessive stupidity to this moment of mutual choosing. Simone walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, her mother on one arm and Marcus on the other, and she was so beautiful it hurt to look at her, and when she reached him, Dante felt tears in his eyes. "Hi," Simone whispered. "Hi," Dante whispered back. "You ready for this?" "I've been ready since the night I saw you laugh," Dante admitted. "I just had to become worthy of you first." "You were always worthy," Simone said. "You just needed to believe it." They said their vows, promised forever, and when the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Dante kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning, and distantly heard their friends cheering. "Mine," Dante murmured against her lips. "Ours," Simone corrected, smiling. "We belong to each other now." And it was true, had been true from the moment their eyes met across a bar, would be true until their last breath. That night at the reception, Simone pulled him aside and said, "I have something to tell you." "Should I be worried?" Dante asked. "Depends," Simone said, taking his hand and placing it on her stomach. "How do you feel about being a father?" Dante froze, stared at her, then down at where his hand rested, and felt his entire world shift and expand in the most perfect way. "You're serious?" "Very," Simone confirmed. "Surprise?" Dante picked her up and spun her around, laughing and crying at the same time, and when he set her down, he kissed her with everything he felt. "I love you," he said. "I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good," Simone said. "Because you're stuck with me now. You claimed me, remember?" "Best decision I ever made," Dante said. "Even if I did it wrong the first time." They danced until dawn, surrounded by people they loved, and when the sun rose over Connecticut, Dante held his wife close and thought about the journey that had brought them here, from a bar in Manhattan to a garden wedding to the promise of family. "No regrets?" Simone asked, reading his mind like she always did. "Not a single one," Dante said. "You? Only that it took you so long to find me," Simone said. "But I guess you had to dismiss all those other proposals first." "I would have dismissed 1,000 more," Dante said. "Because none of them were you." And as they drove away from the reception toward their honeymoon, toward the rest of their lives, Dante thought about the man he'd been. The man who'd stood in a bar dismissing proposals and claiming a woman without her permission, and the man he'd become, who'd learned that love wasn't about possession but about partnership. Simone had taught him that. Had taught him that the strongest thing he could do was choose her every day, respect her boundaries, build a life together instead of demanding she fit into his. 3 years later, Dante stood in their living room in Massachusetts, watching Simone read to their daughter, watching the sunset paint them both in gold, and felt complete in a way he'd never imagined possible. "Daddy," his daughter called, and Dante scooped her up, feeling her laugh against his chest. "What is it, sweetheart?" "Mommy says you claimed her at a bar," his daughter said seriously. "Is that true?" Dante looked at Simone, who was trying not to laugh. "It's complicated," Dante said carefully. "I made a mistake, and Mommy taught me how to do better." "Did you say sorry?" his daughter asked. "Many times," Dante confirmed. "And I learned that love isn't about claiming people. It's about choosing them every day and letting them choose you back." "Did Mommy choose you back?" "Eventually," Simone said, coming to join them. After he proved he understood the difference between possession and partnership. Their daughter thought about this. "I think I like partnership better." "Me too," Dante said, pulling both his girls close. "Me too." If you love Dante and Simone's journey from a possessive claim to a partnership built on respect, smash that like button. Subscribe for